Okay, well, welcome everybody. We're going to wait just a minute before we officially get started. We're very happy to have you all on here with us tonight. Before we do get started with the session though, we want to have a little bit of fun. If you guys would be able to get into the chat and just introduce yourselves to each other. If you want to share your name, where you're joining us from tonight, maybe where you went to undergrad, and also what your favorite TV show is. We'd like to learn a little bit more about all of you. We've got a nice big group joining us tonight. We thought we'd just have a little bit of fun before we get started. I have heard that Schitt's Creek is really good, and I still have not watched it. I really need to watch it. This is going to give me good ideas about what I should go home and watch tonight.
Survivor, that's one of your favorites, Dean Anderson, isn't it? No?
That was a no.
I'm more of a Bachelor guy. I'm trying to cure myself of watching Bachelor.
Oh, Breaking Bad. Also a big fan. I'm also enjoying Better Call Saul. I don't know if you've been watching that one too, but good spinoff. Another Schitt's Creek.
Yeah, Schitt's Creek was very
funny.
Good.
Worth it. That's what I've heard. Okay, I need to watch it.
If those guys did, well, a couple of the people in Schitt's Creek did Best in Show, that movie Best in Show a long time ago, which is still such a funny movie. You should see that if you haven't seen it.
No, I haven't.
Oh my gosh.
Some Dynasty, interesting, like it.
My son is into those animes too, but I can't keep track of them. But
Oh, The Crown. Also haven't seen, but I've heard it's great.
Very good, very good. It's a lot of history. You can learn a lot of history that way.
Yeah.
After every episode, I Google everything because I'm like, did that happen? I don't remember that.
I do the same thing, and I want to know how truthful parts of it are.
Yeah.
Is that usually pretty historically accurate, or?
Oh yes, they're very, very.
Okay.
Except, I mean, of course, they can't recreate the background conversations, but in terms of the historical events, it's very accurate. Down to like what the Queen was wearing that day. They did it exactly right. So.
Very cool.
And Harry from New Zealand, he actually visited today. So hello, Harry. Curb Your Enthusiasm. That's an oldie and a goodie.
Well, Alicia, do you think that we have most everyone on? Or are we still waiting for a few people?
I think mostly everybody is here. So yeah, everybody's here that wants to be here, right?
Well, keep sending in your responses because that was fun. Like I said, I'm getting some good ideas about things I need to watch. But again, I just want to say welcome to everyone tonight and congratulations on your admission to Drake Law. We're very excited to have all of you here, and I hope that you will find a lot of useful information in this session. My name is Laura, and I'm the Director of Admission and Financial Aid here at Drake Law. We're going to be hearing from a few different people tonight. First of all, just before we get started, just make sure to keep yourselves on mute just so that we don't get any feedback throughout the session. But if you have questions at the end, we will be doing a Q&A, and you can feel free to unmute yourself at that time. Otherwise, if you do have questions but you don't want to unmute, please feel free to use the chat box feature to ask your questions, and we will make sure to get those answered at the end. But without further ado, I want to turn things over to Dean Anderson to get things kicked off. So
Great, thanks, Laura. And really great to have the opportunity to talk to you all. I'm excited that you're thinking about starting your law school journey not too far from now. And it's a really good time to think about, I think, why you want to go to law school, because it can help you decide where to go. But also, if you think about your motivation, we find that people that are motivated, that have a goal in mind, do better in law school in general, and then obviously in practice as well. And there's a lot of reasons why you might be thinking about law school, but it can help you match up where to go as well, if you really think hard about why you're doing this. So, I mean, obviously you can go become a lawyer to make a lot of money, and a lot of our graduates do that. But it's very common to be motivated, and I think I was motivated by the desire to help people. And people don't think that about lawyers. They think of the courtroom lawyers and so on. But basically what you do every day in the office is people come to you with problems and you help them through it. And so whether it's a difficult divorce or a child custody issue, or they want some peace of mind with regard to someone that's died in their estate distribution, or whatever it might be, you're basically helping them solve their problem. And that's a very rewarding thing to do. And I think a lot of people are motivated, thankfully, because they want to make a difference in society. And lawyers from the White House down to the local school boards are the ones that people turn to help us solve a lot of the problems that we have in the United States. That usually boils down to some legal issue, whether it's in the legislature or in the courts, that we're trying to figure out how to navigate those problems, and they look to lawyers to do that. So, so those are some of the motivations. And you know, as I go out looking at, I meet with our alumni. That my job as a dean is to raise money and basically keep relationships with our alumni so that we can keep doing the things that make us a great school. And so I meet people in so many different ways, using their law degrees in such a wide variety of ways. So you can think about, what do I want to do on a day-to-day basis when I get out of here? And I think about, for example, Renee Kozlak, who is in Redwood City, California. And she is the international patent defense attorney for AbbVie Pharmaceutical for the Humira drug. So every time I see a Humira commercial on TV, which is like every other hour, I think about Renee Kozlak, and her job, you know, on an international basis, is to make sure that nobody's infringing on that patent and then take action if they are. And then just down the street in San Jose is a guy named Philip Merrick, who's one of our grads that works for Adobe. And so he does licensing sort of work, a very transactional kind of practice. And every time I pull up a PDF, I think about Philip and the work that he's doing there. And then you go, you know, across the country, and I think about Ryan Rolfson is one of our grads who does international white-collar criminal defense for one of the biggest law firms in the world in Chicago. And he logged like 100,000 air miles last year, just because he's got clients in China and in India and in Germany, all facing some sort of white-collar criminal charge, and he's trying to help them navigate that. Meanwhile, his wife, who's also one of our graduates, Cynthia Rolfson, is the attorney for the police, what do they call it? Police Accountability Board in Chicago. So you know, obviously with the trial going on in the Twin Cities right now, how big an issue police accountability is. And she's the attorney for the Police Accountability Board in Chicago. So how different is her job on a day-to-day basis from her husband's job? And how different is that from another graduate of ours, Sasha Mayo, who's a public defender in the Bronx in New York? And so every day she's in court, basically, you know, doing cases. She's on her feet every day, either settling cases or prosecuting or defending cases in court, versus someone like Terry Wolf in at Washington, D.C. is the assistant parliamentarian for the House of Representatives. And every day she's like helping the House of Representatives pass legislation. I didn't even know that job existed before I met Carrie, but that's what she does. And so I'm like, how many different ways you can use your law degree? And all of them started at Drake Law School and explored, those legal issues at Drake, but then you can find a job that will fit your personality and your interests, and we can help you do that. And so how do you do that? How do you start to develop those skills and those interests? And one of the ways you do it is by trying it out. I mean, if you read about contracts in class, it is not the same as being a contract attorney and negotiating contracts and drafting contracts and all that sort of thing. You might really like criminal law, you might like reading it, but how do you know if you're going to like practicing it? How do you know if you're going to like standing up in court and actually, arguing the case? It's a whole different thing than thinking about it or reading about it. So the only way you can do that is by doing it. And how are you going to do that? Well, you can do it in our clinics because we have one of the best clinical programs in the country. We started it before many other schools 50 years ago. And we now have these incredible clinics. So you can try out immigration law. You can try out criminal defense or prosecution. You can try out family law and work on children's rights issues. Or you can do a general civil practice or a transactional entrepreneurial practice where you're helping start up businesses. Again, you can read about corporate law, but until you have a client sitting across from you and they're wanting to know, do I need to start a corporation, or should I do an LLC, or should I do a partnership? And you have to advise them. You can't do that sitting in class. You have to do it through a clinical program, and then you can adjust, right? You can say, oh man, I really like that. I want to do more of that. Or you can say, I really hated that. I better change gears and try something else. And you can do that before it's too late, before you're already out in practice and you've chosen a job and now you're like, oh, now I figured out this isn't really what I want to do. So clinical programs are something you should really look at. And the ability to do internships and other sorts of experiential opportunities. And so, when you're an undergrad and you want to study philosophy or something, being in a college town away from the action is perfectly fine, right? I mean, you can read Hemingway wherever. But if you want to become a professional, you have to be where the professionals are. And so that's in Des Moines, where we have the seat of government. So you can work at the Capitol. You can work for one of all the administrative agencies. I'm an environmental lawyer, teach environmental law. My students go work at the Department of Natural Resources. And so then when they get out, they get hired by the Department of Natural Resources because they've got that experience. We've got the courts here, Supreme Court, Court of Appeals, local district courts, federal courts. You can do all those internships here. And then we have all the major law firms are located here. And so many of our students start clerking as early as the summer after their first year. And they get that experience where you're in a law firm, learning from real lawyers, doing real lawyering problems. And then, of course, all the international businesses that we have here. I mean, Des Moines, if you look it up, this is the hot spot for young professionals because we have all these financial services businesses, all these insurance businesses, all these agribusinesses, a lot of really, Google and Facebook have facilities here and so on. This is a very hot spot, and all those companies need lawyers, and they hire our students to work there and intern there, and you can get that experience too that you can then take with you. You may want to stay in Des Moines because it is such a wonderful place for young professionals, and you'll have those experiences, or you can take that wherever you want to go. And as I've mentioned, we've got grads all across the country. So we say at Drake that we create complete professionals. And what that means is that the ABA did a study and asked lawyers, what skills do you need to be a successful lawyer? And certainly at the top of the list, you've got, you have to learn the substance of the law. And we'll teach you that, of course. But then the second one is legal research and writing, which, by the way, we just got ranked 9th in the country for. So we do that really well. But then below that, you've got like 17 other skills that you need to learn. Negotiations, how to work with other people, how to, interview a client, how you should do project management, and so on. All those other skills, whether you call them soft skills or whatever, you cannot learn just sitting in classrooms reading books. You have to get out there and do it. And so we finished 7th in the nation in competitions last year, tied with Northwestern University in Chicago, because we have all these opportunities for our students to engage in competition teams where you also hone those professional skills, whether it's negotiations or client counseling or so on. And we do well because we train our students well to take on those experiential learning things. So that's basically all I wanted to say. Is for when you think about a law school, you want to think about one that is going to train you to be a complete professional. And when you look at our grads, and you can Google our grads, whatever town you want to, city you want to end up in, from a small town in Iowa to Los Angeles, you can Google Drake, and you can look on LinkedIn and see our grads doing incredible things across the country and even around the world, because we train them not only to know what the law is, but how to actually use it in practice. And so they can hit the ground running and basically succeed, not only the first year out of practice, but their entire careers. So that's basically all I wanted to say, and I'm really happy to take your questions as well, because whatever it is that you're interested in, I'll be honest. I mean, if it's something that we don't do as well, I'll tell you, because it's, I don't know if you can say that finding a law school is like finding a spouse or whatever, but, there are schools that are better. Drake is not the best school for everyone. And so we can talk about what you're interested in and whether it is that we're the best fit for you.
Okay, thank you, Dean Anderson. And so, like Dean Anderson said, any questions that you have for him, please go ahead and put those in the chat now. We will make sure to get all of those questions covered at the end of our session during the Q&A. And now we're just going to move forward with our agenda for tonight. So we do have a lot that we want to cover. We're going to start by talking just a little bit more about Drake Law. Cara is on the call tonight with us. She is the Assistant Dean of Admission and Financial Aid. Talking about some more admitted student information. We will have a current student on tonight to talk just a little bit more about their Drake Law experience. And then Alicia Hilligus, who is our Assistant Director of Admission, will be monitoring the Q&A for us. Okay, so just for a little bit more about Drake Law, I will go through this pretty quickly. Dean Anderson already covered a lot of really important information about Drake, and I do want to make sure that I save plenty of time for our Q&A at the end. But just for a little bit more information, first of all, for our student body, just to give you an idea of the size of Drake, we have a total enrollment of 322 students. Our students come from 26 different states and 107 undergraduate institutions. Our entering class for 2020 was 101 students. You can see kind of the makeup of the class there. Question that I do get a lot from students is about average class size. So in your first year of law school, we will break you up into 2 different sections. So your class will be around 50 students. Then as you get into your second and third years and are taking more elective courses, you can expect classes to be a little bit smaller, more like 20 or 30 students. Fairly small class sizes. And Dean Anderson did already talk a lot about the practical experiences that you'll be getting at Drake, but just a reminder about some of those opportunities. Our first year trial practicum is an opportunity during your very first year at Drake to observe a trial from start to finish. And not only will you be able to observe the trial, you'll also have the opportunity to ask questions of the judge, the jury, everyone that's involved with the trial, you'll be able to ask questions at the end. So it's a really amazing opportunity, again, that you're getting during that very first year of law school. The legal clinics, which again, we already heard a little bit about, we do have 8 different clinic opportunities. Our newest clinic offering is the Wrongful Convictions Clinic. We do have other opportunities in entrepreneurial transactional law. We have a refugee clinic and family and child law clinic as well. But so the clinic does operate as a real law firm and is located right on campus. So as a student, you'll be able to get a practicing license and have that opportunity to represent real clients during your time in law school. Internship, externship, and clerkship opportunities. Again, our location is a huge advantage, as Dean Anderson said, that you'll be so close to the courts. It's a great advantage that we are located in the capital city of Des Moines. And we'll talk a little bit more about this later as well. Journals, so we have the Drake Law Review. We're also the only law school that has a journal that's specifically focused on ag law, so that's another opportunity for a journal experience. We have several moot court and mock trial teams that you can get involved with. And another important thing to note about Drake, all of our faculty have actually practiced the law, and they're bringing that experience into the classroom. So that's another big advantage for our students, that they're able to learn from faculty who have actually been out there practicing law. Okay, so again, Des Moines, big advantage that we're located in the capital city, of course, for the internship opportunities, but also just because Des Moines is a really great place to live. There's a low cost of living, which is a really important thing to consider, of course, when you're looking at law schools and considering the cost of attending. It's great that we're located in Des Moines and there is very affordable housing that is close by. These are just a couple of other stats about Des Moines that you can see. We've been ranked one of the best places to live. Again, most affordable places, a top place for business and careers, fastest growing major metro in the Midwest. And I also saw that Des Moines was recently ranked one of the safest cities in the country. So again, just a great place to live, but a really nice opportunity for internships. And of course, a big advantage that we are the only law school located in Des Moines, so that you're not competing with lots of other students from other schools in order to get those internship opportunities. So our career development office at Drake Law does a really amazing job helping to prepare our students. You will meet with the career development office during your very first year at Drake, just to talk about what your career goals are, and they can help you. Of course, with finding internships, there's a lot more that they can do. Beyond that, they certainly help with resume, cover letters. They'll do mock interviews. So there's certainly a lot that they can do beyond helping you find an internship opportunity or finding that first job out of law school. They also have a extensive alumni network that they work with that they can help get you connected to. So if you're interested maybe in not practicing in the Midwest, if you want to practice in California or in Texas, they can help get you connected with our alumni network and get you connected to someone in the state that you want to practice in, or if there's a certain area of the law that you're interested in, they can help get you connected with an alum that's in that area. And of course, we wanted to put up our bar passage rates, overall full-time employment rate, because we are very proud of these statistics, and it just goes to show that our students do find success after graduating from Drake. And a lot of that, of course, is due to the great work happening in our career development office. Certificate programs. So this is just a list of the different certificate programs that you can choose to complete. Keep in mind that you don't necessarily have to choose a program if you want to take a more general approach. You're interested in a lot of different areas of the law. You don't necessarily need to choose a program, but if there is an area that you really want to focus on, want to be able to show future employers that you have a lot of expert knowledge in, a certificate program might be a good choice for you. And that's something that you don't need to decide in your first year. Your first year will just be a lot of required courses. but it's something that you'd be able to take on in that second year, and might be a conversation to have with career development about which program might be best for you. So we do offer a few joint degrees. So if you're interested in one of these degree programs, it's a great opportunity to do this while completing your JD, because it will save you some time and some money, because you are able to count some of those credits towards both programs. Keep in mind that our joint degrees, some of them are through Drake. There are others that are through Iowa State, Des Moines University, University of Iowa. And so you would just have to apply, separately to our program and separately to the other degree that you're interested in completing. But that just gives you an idea of some of the joint degree offerings that we have. So academic centers and institutes, this is just another example of more practical experiences that our students can have. The centers are a great way for students to gain more professional experience in these areas of the law. We do bring speakers throughout the year for students to learn more about these areas. Our Constitutional Law Center is one of 4 centers in the country endowed by Congress and funded by the federal government. So that's a really great opportunity for our students. And of course, if there's another center that you're interested in learning more about, just be sure to put a question in the chat, and we can certainly answer questions you have at the end of our session. And lastly, student organizations. So you're going to be very busy in law school. There's going to be a lot going on, but joining a student organization is a great way to just socialize and meet with your fellow classmates. Of course, it's a great way to build leadership skills, good resume builder as well. So this is a full list of the different student organization offerings that we currently have at law. Okay, so I want to turn things over now to Cara Blanchard, and she is going to talk to us a little bit more about some important admitted student information.
Thank you, Laura. Well, I also want to extend my congratulations to each of you on your admission to Drake Law School. I know you've all worked very hard to get to this point, and I've had the pleasure of actually reading all of your applications, and you have very impressive backgrounds and experiences and credentials, and so I congratulate you on your hard work. I know you're at a point right now where you're trying to make a big decision about where to attend, and many of you are considering, several options. So I hope that some of the information Laura and the dean shared help portray what a special place that Drake is, and what a benefit it is for our students to be located in a capital city and have the opportunities that are extended to them throughout their time in law school as they prepare to launch their legal careers. For those of you who weren't able to join us a few weeks ago, we did have a virtual admitted student session about experiential learning and practical skills training. The director of our legal clinic, Susie Pritchard, and the director of our career development office were both speakers in that particular event. And Alicia has posted, or is posting, I guess, the link to that session. We have it on our YouTube channel. So if you missed that and you are interested in learning more about career opportunities and preparation, experiential learning, practical skill training while a law student, I encourage you to take the time to go back and look at that as well. I think it was really beneficial information. So I want to just touch on some of the next steps and hopefully cover some of the topics that you might have big questions about right now. And of course, one of them is financial aid. For those of you that are intending to utilize financial aid, we have a few steps that I want to go over real quickly with you, but certainly if you have specific questions about your situation, your financial aid, reach out to any of us in the admissions office and we're happy to work through that with you. Tuition and fees for next year is posted on the slide, $44,712 for the year for full-time students. The vast majority of our students are receiving scholarships. The scholarship notifications went out at the time of admission. And we also have a lot of our students, vast majority, who are borrowing some student loans to help with perhaps tuition and or living expenses during law school. Especially in that first year of law school, we really discourage students from working. You're going to have a full-time job ahead of yourself and then some in the first year curriculum, certainly in the first semester. And so we do have students rely quite a bit on student loans to help them with their living expenses in that first year. If you are interested in finding out your loan eligibility, you'll need to file the FAFSA, and we have the website listed. Be sure to list Drake University as a school to receive your information. And once we receive that here, our University Financial Aid Office will process your loan eligibility and then send you an email so that you can access that information on our online student portal. If you have any questions, or if you haven't received that information and think you should have by now, please reach out to us this week and we're happy to take a look. If your FAFSA has been in and processed, I would say from the time you're admitted, within a couple of weeks, you should probably have that email from the University Financial Aid Office. You'll also receive an email from us, from the admissions office, with your student ID number, which you'll need to use to access the online portal. So those would be 2 emails to be keeping an eye out for. Just real quickly to tell you what to expect with loan eligibility, we do have 2 options: the federal direct unsubsidized loan and then the graduate plus loan. Students should all qualify for the maximum amount available in the federal direct unsubsidized loan, which is $20,500 a year. And then eligibility for the Grad Plus loan will be dependent upon a variety of factors, including how much in scholarships you're receiving and eligibility for loans. The university puts together what they call a cost of attendance estimate for the year, which would include tuition, living expenses, all personal expenses, and they estimate that to be around $65,000 a year. So your total financial aid package of all scholarships and loans will usually total approximately that amount. Of course, we encourage students to only borrow the amount that they need and to work through a budget, and we can help discuss those things with you as well. So beyond submitting your FAFSA and requesting your loans, if you intend to borrow, there's a couple other things that we want to make sure that you have on your calendar or that you're aware of. We do have a Class of 2024 Facebook page. We post news, highlights, special events, updates that we think you might be interested in that regularly. So if you have Facebook, I strongly encourage you to join that group. If you don't have Facebook, it might be something worth considering just for that purpose, because our classes, this becomes the class's Facebook page. And so our 2nd year and 3rd year law students continue to use that page. The other thing that students are using that for quite a bit is housing. So you can we have a lot of students who find roommates. They will reach out on the Facebook page and ask if anybody's looking for a roommate. And a lot of the connections for housing information, roommate options are found on that Facebook page. And then we also have an admitted students, or for admitted students, web page through the Drake Law School website. And I encourage you to continually keep an eye on that. We will post everything from orientation schedules and important dates and reminders about things that need to be done and when they need to be done on our for admitted students page. So if you bookmark that and keep an eye on it, I think that will be useful for you. Our first seat deposits, most of you have a seat deposit due April 15th, so that's just around the corner already. If you have any questions about that, be sure to reach out to us and let us know. And the other thing that you'll have to do if you're still in school right now, or you haven't already submitted your final transcript, the American Bar Association, our accrediting body, does require us to have a final transcript with your degree conferred date for your bachelor's degree. We do not need to have it if you have advanced degrees, but we do need your degree conferred date for your bachelor's degree. That either needs to be submitted directly to our office or to the Law School Admission Council, and they'll send the copy directly to us. And we need to have that by the time classes start. Housing is a big issue that a lot of you are kind of thinking about right now if you have to relocate to Des Moines. And our website has links to all of these popular housing options that we have listed. For those of you who want to be within walking distance to the law school, I can tell you the 2 most popular options for our law students are the Drake West Village and the Old Main Apartments. The website links provide you with everything from floor plans to cost for rent for most of them. Laura mentioned earlier, Des Moines is fairly affordable housing. The Drake West Village, the nice thing about that is those units are fully furnished. So if you don't want to buy furniture or relocate furniture, that's a convenient option for a lot of students. They have everything from studios to 4 bedrooms. I think the most recent was about $660 a month for a individual cost for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, just to give you an idea. And that's just within a block or two of campus, very conveniently located. And Drake Westville, or I'm sorry, Old Main Apartments also has options for multiple size units. Those are not furnished. So I encourage you to check out those websites, or again, let us know if you have any questions about anyone who's relocating that has questions about Des Moines or housing. We're happy to help. Okay, another thing I want to make sure you're aware of is our Summer Start program. It's an excellent way to get started in law school in a small cohort. We have classes that start in June. You would take 3, foundations class and then 3 classes. You just take 1 class at a time. You'll have different professors teaching each, and you can earn 6 credits for the summer program. It's a great way if you've been out of school for a while and you want to get reacclimated, or maybe you graduated a while back and you're eager to get started. The option to begin in June is a popular one for students that have either been out for a while or really want to kind of get back into the classroom. And if you do start, you can opt to graduate in 2.5 years if you take additional summer classes. You don't have to do that, but it's a nice way to accelerate your program if you want to get going, take summer and go straight year round and get done in 2.5 years. So you'd graduate in December, and then those students typically would take the bar exam in February instead of July for our May grads. Okay, with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Laura, and she is going to introduce you to one of our current students who can share his insight on his experiences at Drake Law School. Laura?
Okay, thank you, Cara. So yes, we do have current student on tonight. Eric, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really appreciate that you are here with us tonight. If you wouldn't mind starting off, if you just would like to introduce yourself, let us know where you're from, what year you are, and tell us a little bit more about your current involvement at Drake.
Sure thing. So my name is Eric Kolsrud. Can you guys hear me okay? Just want to make sure.
Yep, we can hear you.
All right, great. So again, my name is Eric. I'm from Tucson, Arizona. I went to University of Arizona for undergrad. I'm an out-of-state student. I'm not from Iowa. So coming to Drake was kind of a big change for me. It took a little bit getting used to the weather. That was the biggest thing for me. But in terms of things that I'm involved in, I'm a 3L, so I'm in my last year of law school. I'm going to graduate here, knock on wood, in a few weeks. So excited for that. But I am involved in the Ag Journal, where I'm the media editor currently. And then I've been a team member of our AAJ mock trial team for 2 years now, as well as a team member for our negotiations team. So I've done both of those. And then I'm a member of DELTS, which is the student organization. It's called a fraternity, but of course it's open to both men and women. So all of you, if you end up coming to Drake, I encourage you guys to join that. It's a lot of fun. Kind of organizes all sorts of social events and everything. So it's a really good time. And then the other big thing that I've really enjoyed about Drake is I was involved in the criminal clinic. So I did that for 2 semesters. I did the beginning and the advanced clinic, where I represented, I think, over 15 clients. And of course, I know that everybody's kind of been speaking about the clinic, but it was a really good opportunity for me. And I can't emphasize that enough. I learned a lot about, how courts actually operate. The whole process of, writing motions and speaking before a judge and, negotiating things with the prosecutor. I mean, I was doing everything, and they give you a long leash. You get to do it all. And it's kind of a sink or swim sort of deal. So it can be really terrifying, but it's a really good opportunity as well, where you learn a lot. So I 100%, if you guys end up coming to Drake, I really encourage you all to try and do one of the clinics. I'm going to, of course, shill for the criminal clinic because I did that, and that's what I really enjoyed. But they're all fantastic. They're all great learning opportunities. So I don't know if there are specific questions or if there's things that, Drake, if you guys want me to talk about. I don't know if there's specifics that you'd like me to discuss.
Yeah, we're going to get right into our Q&A session after this. I did just want to ask you, first of all, a little bit more about your application process, like what other schools you were looking at and why you ultimately chose Drake.
Sure. So I guess my situation was a little bit unique. Like I said, I'm from Arizona, so I applied obviously to Arizona State University, University of Arizona, which is where I'd gone to undergrad. My fiance at that point, my girlfriend, was also applying for vet school, so she wanted to be a veterinarian. And so I was applying to a lot of the different schools that she was applying to for vet school or schools in similar states. So places, in Washington, I think in Missouri. So I mean, kind of just all over the place, Mississippi, of course, also in Arizona. And I applied to University of Iowa and to Drake. My fiance got into Iowa State, and I was accepted into University of Iowa and to Drake. So I picked Drake for me because it was really kind of the focus that I was looking for. Everybody always says, and I'm sure you guys have probably heard this too, that law school teaches you how to think about the law or the theory of law, and you don't really learn the practice until you get out and you are an attorney and you're actually practicing as an attorney. So I imagine a lot of you, you're applying to law schools, you've been accepted to law schools, you're looking to become an attorney. And I think that Drake really has this focus on like the practical side of your legal education that really resonated with me. So I looked at Drake, I saw the clinic, I saw, how nice the actual building was, how much focus there was on this sort of practical side of things. And that really sold me on it. It was nice too that I was close to Iowa State, where my fiance is going to vet school, where we could actually live halfway in between. So we live in the suburb of Ankeny, Iowa, and that's like 20 minutes north of Des Moines. Really not a terrible commute. It's straight on the freeway down into Des Moines. So it's kind of a nice drive. Drake is kind of like right in the middle of Des Moines. So it's nice. If you end up living near Des Moines, or I'm sorry, near Drake, you are obviously right next to the school, but you're also right next to like the heart of the city. So that means you're right next to the legislature. You're right next to the Supreme Court building. You're right next to Principal and all of the big law firms in town like Nyemaster that are all like in downtown Des Moines. So your commute is going to be very, very short, pretty much no matter where you are around Des Moines. And coming from Tucson, coming from Phoenix, that was huge for me because I'm used to a 30-minute, even an hour-long commute. So that was really nice. Even though I'm in the suburbs, right, I'm only like 20 minutes away. So that was really a huge plus for me. But like I said, Drake has that focus on practical side of legal education, and you really, you're not going to get that in other places, or at least in my experience, I found that to be really helpful when applying for jobs, even out of state. I could really talk about my experiences and how I've like represented clients, how I've spoken in front of judges, how I've negotiated with prosecutors, how I've written motions, I've argued motions, and kind of done that entire song and dance before becoming an attorney. So it's great to come into job interviews saying like, look, I've done this before. I know how it works. I have this experience, because other students who are applying for those jobs from other schools may not have the same experience.
Great. Well, I just have one more question for you until I turn things over to Alicia and we get the Q&A started. What advice would you give to our admitted students on the call for their first year of law school?
Oh gosh. I'll say be realistic about law school and about what the requirements are for studying and for kind of like, what you need to succeed. So I'm sure a lot of you guys in undergrad, you're top of the class, you're really smart, you're really successful. But law school is it's a different grind. You kind of have to come in and you really have to treat it like a job, especially your 1L year. I would say pick a time that you're going to come in and, create some sort of schedule, some sort of study plan for yourself. You say, look, I have this morning class. I'm going to come to school. I'm going to do my class. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to study for this amount of time. I'm going to have this other class. I'm going to do that. I'm going to study afterwards, and then I'm going to go home. and really stick to that. I think that sort of structure really helps, especially if you're coming from out of state and you're making this sort of transition to a different city, a different school, a different apartment or house or condo or what have you. It's really good to have that sort of structure that you can kind of commit to, and make sure that you're taking notes, you're reviewing your notes, and you're creating this sort of study plan for yourself. I did that my 1L year. I'm terrible at studying at home, so I had to be at school doing it, and I felt that that really helped to make some friends and like get a study room together, and then sit down and like go over what you did in class, what you did that week, and kind of go from there. That was really helpful for me.
Great. Well, again, thank you so much, Eric, for being here with us tonight. I am now going to pass things over to Alicia so we can officially get the Q&A started. So again, any questions you have for Eric, for Dean Anderson, or for myself, Cara, Alicia, put them in the chat or feel free to unmute yourself. So Alicia?
Okay, thank you. It looks like we've started getting questions. So students, please add questions to the Q&A. The first question is from Justin, and he wants to know, and I'm going to give this question to Cara. When can we accept our financial aid award packages?
The financial aid award packages actually can be accepted as soon as you can access your online portal. So if you've received access to that online portal, you should have your eligibility listed, and you should be able to go ahead and start that process now. We do say that for fall start in August, you should have your loan request process completed by June 1, just to ensure that we don't have any delays with funding being available in student accounts in August.
Okay, thank you, Cara. Jacqueline Vallejo has another question. When is the last day we can decide if we want to do the summer start? Cara, is there a last date?
We can be fairly flexible on that. Again, I would caution that for purposes of financial aid processing, in the summer, things can happen a lot quicker. So I would say May 1st would be a good deadline to have in mind for purposes of financial aid. But we can enroll you in that program well into May. So May 1st for financial aid, mid-May for registration.
Thank you. Cassidy wants to know if will most classes be in person? The answer is yes. Our hope is actually we are planning to have our classes in the summer and in the fall in person. Of course, we're always going to continue monitoring, what's going on with COVID. But I encourage you, if you're able to get that vaccine, to get it. I am excited. I'll be getting it on Tuesday. But yeah, our plan is to be back in person in the summer and fall. Let's see, Sarah Moody, she wants to know if for students who are planning to live further away, what are the parking options available? Eric, do you want to talk about your experience with parking?
Yeah, so my first year, so Drake has parking lots around the campus. There's a couple that are pretty close to the law school itself. So you can pay for parking. I think it might have gone up. I think it's like $120 for the year or something. It really isn't bad. At least for me, like coming from undergrad where it was like $600 for the entire year, that was I thought a huge savings. So yeah, it's like $120 or so for the year to park in one of the Drake lots. If you don't want to shell out for that, you can park a little bit further away. Like there's neighborhoods all around Drake, the campus itself, that you can park in. It's going to be a little bit more of a walk, but obviously you don't have to pay if that's the case. That's what I did these last couple of years for my 2L and my 3L year, is I would just park in the neighborhoods and then walk over. Depending on what you're comfortable with. It was nice, I think, the first year for me. Obviously, I'm from Tucson, so it doesn't snow very often. My first year, we got a lot of snow, and that was it was nice being a little bit closer to campus, a little bit shorter of a walk with a nice plowed parking lot. But if you're more comfortable with the snow or you're a little bit more adventurous, then yeah, I mean, you can kind of park wherever. There's a lot of restaurants and things like nearby that you can also kind of park in front of too. So it's just kind of up to you, whatever you're comfortable with.
Okay, and one of the things that I always tell students is like, you always find parking. This is not a place where like, if you're running late for class, forget it. You're not going to find any parking. There's always going to be parking available, which is really nice. Let's see. Kaylee has a wonderful question. Her question is, Drake Law School sounds like it is a great law school, which it is, with high-ranking clinical programs, also legal writing program. But why is the national ranking low? So we're 102. Dean Anderson, can you talk about that, please?
Sure. Thanks for the question, Kaylee. So yeah, I mean, if you look at rankings that we think matter, for example, if you look at the American Bar Association ranking of how our students are doing compared to other students, we ranked number 3 in the country 3 years ago, and we ranked number 7 in the country last year. And so I refuse to admit that the US News has any validity whatsoever, because it's based on factors that are really not related to how good of a lawyer you're going to be. So even within the US News ranking, we ranked number 9 in the country for our legal writing program, which is one of the most important skills that you can have. And if you look at that, our ranking among lawyers and judges is actually really high. It was really our ranking among other academics that kind of brought us down a little bit, which I think our ranking is still very respectable, but it's certainly not where we think we should be based on how good we are. So if you ask lawyers and judges, they'll say that, you know, they've seen Drake graduates do well. Other lawyers have seen Drake graduates do well, and so they rank us high. It's the other academics that don't rank us as high. And why is that? Well, you've got an academic, a professor sitting in New York City that does nothing but sit in his office and churn out law review articles, that doesn't know anything about Drake. And he's filling out a little scorecard that ranks all the different schools. Then he's not going to rank Drake as highly because he doesn't really know about us. But it's based on academics that don't have the same philosophy that we do, which is that we want to prepare people to practice law. So frankly, I don't care what that person in New York City thinks about how good we are. A, they don't know how good we are. And B, if they're ranking us, it's based on what they think of in terms of law review articles and sitting in your office and doing writing things, rather than doing what we do, which is focus on teaching our students to become complete professionals. And I think, you know, Eric could, you know, I loved Eric's comments about how well we do that. And the fact is that it's also, our professors are all really good teachers, because, you know, as dean, over the years, we hire people that care about teaching. And not all schools do that. They'll hire somebody that cares about writing and publishing law review articles, but they don't care about teaching. And we hire people that are, number one, lawyers themselves, so that, you know, you have professors at other schools that have never, there's a professor at a school down the road that teaches civil procedure that's never had a trial before. How can you teach someone about how to do trials if you've never actually had a trial yourself? It's like a doctor saying, well, I've watched these surgeries on TV, you know, and so I'm going to teach you how to do one, but I've never done it myself. We don't do that. We hire professors that are experts in their field. They've actually practiced law so that they can speak about it authoritatively. And third, they care about teaching. And so, you know, if that's what you want, then you should come to Drake. If you want to go to a school where all they care about is writing law review articles, then you can look at those US News rankings and you can treat them as valid. But we don't. We don't think they're valid. It's no more valid than People magazine deciding who the Sexiest Man of the Year award is, which may have some validity, I don't know, but but certainly more than US News rankings. Anyway, that's a long speech. Sorry, Kaylee.
Thank you, Dean Anderson. Kaylee also has a second part to her question. The second part is, have admitted students been given a chance at all for possible scholarships from the law school, I imagine is what you're asking, Do you apply to the scholarships individually? Is there a way to gain more scholarship? And I'm going to toss that question on scholarships to the Dean of Admissions, Cara Blanchard.
Yes, so the scholarship awards, the vast majority of them do not require any information beyond what you've submitted in your application materials. Right now, the only pending scholarships that we're reviewing that do require separate applications are public service scholarships. So I do want to bring that to everyone's attention. It's a wonderful program. We have 2 full tuition public service scholars in each entering class. If you have a history of public service and you intend on practicing in that area after law school, I encourage you to take a look at our website. And if you're interested in applying, we're starting to review those applications now. So you'll want to let me know if you plan on submitting an application, and you'll want to work on that as quickly as possible. It's a great program. The rest of our scholarships are primarily merit-based scholarships. So we were using information that was in your application. If you have a question about that scholarship, or if you've received more competitive scholarships from other schools that are really weighing on your decision making, please reach out to Laura or I and let us know. That's not to say that we can match other offers, but we certainly want to be able to have a conversation with you about that and talk to you about it. So please reach out to us individually if that's a question.
Okay, thank you.
And Alicia, I'm looking at the next question. I can take 2 if you'd like me to.
Yes, perfect. Yeah.
The Grad Plus loan program. So yes, you can go ahead and accept that in the online portal, but then it will prompt you to go through essentially what is an application process, because the Grad Plus loan, unlike the other federal unsubsidized loan, which is guaranteed, the Grad Plus loan does have a credit-worthy component to it. So if you do not qualify for the credit portion of that, which most students do, but if you have something, a glitch on the credit report, that's something that we either need to look into to find out if it can be cleared up, or potentially have you look at having a co-signer on the loan. So you can go ahead and accept it and then submit the application process, and they will confirm for you whether or not you automatically qualify.
Okay, thank you. Jaden has a question about the neighborhood. So what are the neighborhoods and greater surrounding area around Drake like? All right, so the surrounding Drake neighborhood, I would say is mixed with lots of students, lots of, local community folks. And, every neighborhood is different. Like I live in Windsor Heights, which is like 7 minutes away from here. And my neighborhood is all retired old people. So I fit perfectly right in. But then you go to downtown and you have very hip, like young professionals. So I guess every neighborhood is different. Eric, do you want to share anything now that you've been here for 3 years about the neighborhoods? And are there any that you recommend?
Yeah, so I think that people have mentioned, like there's a lot of housing options like through Drake or like around Drake in terms of like apartments and stuff like that. So you do get a lot of students. You have people who are there for undergrad, obviously, but there are a lot of law students live right next to the law school, and there's a lot of options for you in terms of like apartments and everything. So there's definitely, it's a lot of students, but you go a little bit like outside the immediate area of Drake University and its families. So it's like homes and stuff like that. So if you wanted to like rent a house with other people, there's that option too. So it's, that part of it is kind of nice. It reminds me a lot of like, I don't know, like college towns, right? Like there's a lot of restaurants and a few bars like around Drake itself. Case in point, there's a place, it's called Doco, and it's a pizza restaurant. And, before COVID, and I think now after, they had trivia night every Wednesday night. So like myself and a group of law students, like we would go every Wednesday and grab a table, grab beers, grab slices of pizza, and we would do trivia night. And we would always come like top, first, second, or third place. So there was a lot of fun. We get to do that. So I mean, like it's like a good area. It's nice. Like you have options for food, like for bars and stuff like that. But the cool thing about Drake really is that like you're right on the freeway, like it's right off the freeway. Like it's like a minute to get to the actual interstate. And then just on the other side of the freeway is like downtown. So, if there's bars and restaurants you want to go to, it is very, very close. You can Uber over, if the weather's nice, you can almost walk to some of the places that are right over there. So you're kind of like right in the middle of things, which is a really good location. But in terms of like housing and like the area around it, I'd say, yeah, like the area immediately around Drake kind of trends younger, but then it's families outside of that,
Okay,
if that
thank you,
helps.
Eric. Thank you, Eric. And Eric, I'm going to also give you the, Ellie has a question about what the class schedule usually looks like during your first semester of your 1L year. Can you remember back your 1L year and what your schedule looked like and how much you enjoyed it?
Sure. I mean, it feels like a long time ago, but everybody kind of has the same schedule. Like when you're a 1L, you come in, you have the same stuff. So it's going to be like criminal law, contracts, civil procedure, legal writing, legal research, things like that. So all the 1Ls have the same schedule. The way Drake does it is like, say your class is like 100 people, they cut that down the middle and you have two different groups. And so you're like cohorts, I guess, where you're going to have the same classes with your cohort, like say the first semester. So the nice thing about that is, like, for example, like civil procedure, right? Like the largest class size you're going to have is like 50 students. And then legal writing is divided in half again. So you're going to have like about 25 students. And then beyond that, it starts to get a little bit more mixed. After, like in your second semester, you'll have a class where it's a little bit more scrambled. You might have people from the other section. And then after that, it's all just kind of a open season in terms of signing up for electives and everything. But your first year, you have a set schedule. You don't get to pick classes. You don't have to worry about picking classes or thinking like, oh God, like, am I going to like this? Is this something that's going to be important? You just, you have like this class schedule coming in. So, it is what it is. Like the classes, that you have to take are all foundational things. So it's stuff that you're going to need. Like you have to take contracts to understand like some of the the electives you're going to take further down the line. Like you need to know what a contract is, how contract law works to kind of understand classes later on. So it's stuff that's going to be important, that's foundational. You're going to have to take it. And because everybody has to take it, you're all going to be on the same page, in the same boat when it comes to finding people to study with or friends to, talk about, commiserate over classes or getting cold called or whatever. You guys are all kind of on the same page. So I don't know if that answers the question. Do you want, if there's specifics? I see Cara's putting in the list of 1L classes in the chat there. So if you want a better idea, that's where you want to look.
No. Okay. And I think we have time for one more question. Sarah wants to know about campus employment opportunities. We do have a few usually students, usually your 1L year, we highly recommend that you focus on your studies. But for example, there are opportunities in the library. Sometimes the career development office will need an assistant at the front desk. But there are a few opportunities around the law school for sure. Cara, are there any others that you can think of?
I'm not drawing anything off the top of my head right now, Lisa. Sorry, I was trying to respond to some other questions. So
that's all right. No problem. But yeah, you can always come to the career development office, and they can always see what opportunities there may be that they know about on our campus.
Cara, did you answer Madison's question? Because I was going to answer that one if not.
Okay, you want to go ahead?
Dean Anderson, that would be great. I was typing, but
yes.
You can talk.
Okay. Well, I mean, I would say, Madison, that health law is not one of our strengths in terms of our curriculum. But the thing is, and this is true of any area, not just health law, but if you think about what do health law lawyers do, they basically do contract law, like Eric was saying. They do a lot of administrative law, which we do have strong classes in. And then we have great internships that we have a lot of healthcare companies here in Des Moines that you can do internships with. And so even though curricularly we don't have a lot of health law classes, as many as other schools, I think you would find that you would be well prepared for a career in health law by coming to Drake.
Okay, thank you, Dean Anderson. Okay. Laura?
So I do kind of want to get things wrapped up here. I know we've already gone over a little bit on time. If there were any questions that we weren't able to answer for you tonight, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. So I have our contact information up on the slide. So please feel free to send us an email, schedule a visit. So if you guys are not already aware, we are offering in-person visits for admitted students. So if you haven't had the chance to visit yet and you want to, that is the link that you can go ahead and get your appointment scheduled. But yeah, this is the end of our session. So again, thank you, Dean Anderson and Eric, for joining us tonight. We really appreciated you both taking the time to be here with us. And to all of our admitted students, again, congratulations on your admission. We really look forward to seeing hopefully all of you in the fall. Thank you guys and have a great night. Don't hesitate to reach out with questions.